The reason why we've gathered here is my brothers and my sisters that are listening. As parents, we have a massive duty. And the duty is, the reason why we came today to the masjid or the madrasa is because of our children. And we are concerned that we want our children to grow up in a way that will be the best for our own future. Now the teachers that are here at the Maktab, they are here for a number of hours in the week. Do you teach 10 hours in the week? So they're here for 10 hours in the week. And even those 10 hours are split 2 hours a day. 24 hours goes by and they've only had your children for 2 hours. If we take away the sleeping time, take 10 hours away, out of 14 hours, your ustads, your appas have only seen your children for 2 hours, which keeps another 12 whole hours where they haven't had any Islamic teacher or anyone in their presence. Okay, 8 hours goes with the normal school. 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours will have gone with traveling there, going there, being with friends, and so on. So now, if you think about the whole of the day, you've only got a very small amount that is spent in the masjid or the maktab. The rest of it is with you as parents. The question is, what can you as parents do to make your own learning of your children better? And the fundamental, most important thing is, how well do you know Islam, and how much do you regard yourself as a person who's close to the knowledge of Islam and the practice of Islam? And my friend who's listening, the father or the mother, if you have got Allah as your focus in your life, then your children will have Allah as their focus. If you have got the mobile phone as your focus, then your children will not have a mobile phone for their focus. They'll have the next generation item as their focus. They will go one step ahead of us, just like we went one step ahead of our parents. Okay? There was a time, I remember, most of us who are, who have had a grandfather, grandmother that we were blessed to spend time with, or an elderly father, elderly mother, who's sitting here who could remember either a father, a mother, or a grandfather or grandmother, or someone in the family who, at the end of the day, when it came to the evening, they used to sit with the wazifa, or they used to sit with the Quran, or they used to sit with the tasbih at the end of the day. If you remember that, put your hand up. If you remember, put the hand up. Okay. We've got this generation that actually sees their parents with a mobile phone or the remote control or the laptop or the pad by the end of the day. There is a big difference, and we need to understand that we as parents come at the forefront of the tarbiyah and the molding of our children. Now, if you want to mold your children, you have to understand it happens at a very slow pace. It's a job that happens over time in a very slow pace, because every day you're doing something and your children are picking it up. They're picking it up from you. Every day you're doing something. So if at the end of the day or some point of the day you actually find your satisfaction in salah, trust me, over a number of days, weeks and months, your children will find their satisfaction in salah. If you want your child to pray nice and slowly, very simple way to do it. Just pray with your child, next to your child. You pray slow. I can say to you almost 90% guarantee, 100% almost guarantee your child will pray exactly like you, because children are born to imitate. Allah has made children, they're born to imitate. What they see is what they're going to do. So if we're going to blame children for what they've got wrong, we've got to blame the very people they saw, because they can only imitate what they actually saw. Now, I'm telling you this, if your ahamiyah, if your whole concern is the GCSE, that is the biggest concern you have. Your children will learn that very quickly, that more than my fard prayers, the GCSE is important. And how do they know that? Because they watch you. When it comes to tuition time, they see what do you do. If at tuition time the salah has come in, but the salah has also gone and become qada, and you never actually made any preparation for their salah, not even told the tutor to stop the lesson for 5 to 10 minutes, and you carried on the lesson because it was important for you to have the 2 hours, of this tuition, or this 1 hour of the tuition. The lesson finished, the child wasn't told anything about salah, the parents never did anything about it. Now the child understands that your focus is more on the GCSEs and on the tuition than the salah itself. They've made that mind. They'll never say this to you. They will never say this to us, but they've made their mind up. If, for example, when it comes to salah time, I am always rushing, I am doing it at the last time, I am trying to just about get it into the time. And what's more important for me is all the other chores in the house and everything else that's going on. And at the end of the day, when my child has seen me, what they've seen me enjoy more is the time I spent at the dinner table, the time I spent on the phone, the time I spent with the guest, the time I spent with shopping. If they saw that I enjoyed, that I took my time in those things, but when it came to salah, I rushed it, then they know where they stand with their parents and the concern that the parents have. And I tell you that your children will be either the same or they'll be worse than that. The way to make the tarbiyah is a very slow-paced way, but it has to happen at home. Your teachers, your ustads, your appas that are here in the madrasa, the maktab, they can only do so much. They can only do so much. Don't turn around to them after 10 years or 8 years or whatever and say to them, you didn't do a good job. Because they're already limited to 2 hours a day. When you have the rest of the 4 hours from the moment, or maybe 5 hours, the moment they wake up in the morning, and I tell you kids wake up say 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30, 8 o'clock they're awake. You've got an hour or an hour and a half with them in the morning. Then when they come from school, you've got another hour and a half with them from 3:30 all the way to 5 o'clock, you've got an hour and a half. That's 3 hours. Then when they return from maktab and they come home, you've got another hour or 2 hours depending what time they sleep. You've got that with them. That's 4 to 5 hours a day you've got. What can you do in that time to make them become, I'm talking about Monday to Fridays here. Obviously the weekends, you've got the whole weekends. And I'm going to tell you about that. Okay, I'm going to give you a plan to work with. And I understand that most of you that are listening to me, you probably, got a normal life going on outside. You come to this, you come to this madrasa, you come to this maktab, and you've got certain rules and things that you must follow. They've got to wear a hat, they've got to have a jubbah, they've got to have a hijab, they've got to have a jilbab and so on. So you meet all the requirements of the maktab, that's fine. But what goes on after this is your real world, is the child's real world. Okay? What can you do? In the Safar Academy syllabus that we've got, we've put at the beginning of every single book a number of things that you can do in terms of tarbiyah. And it's on to you to do that. And every single book, there are new things for you to bring into their lives. Okay? So, for example, at an early age, would you ever have your child standing up and urinating inside your house? Would you ever allow that? Would that be something that would be totally, forbidden in your house? What goes in your house? Because that's really important. Would you allow your child to ever eat with the left hand? Would you ever allow that? Even if it's a left-hander. Because there are left-handers that get born and they naturally eat with the left hand. And it's very easy to teach them to eat with the right hand. Very easy, because all right-handers have learned how to use their left hand when it comes to the toilet. Yes or no, guys? Tell me. Yes or no, guys? Tell me yes or no. So if all right-handers are left-handers in the toilet, then all left-handers can become right-handers at the dinner table. And it's a very simple thing. You just make it what you want. You tell them now. You don't have to be very harsh with them. You don't have to be very gentle with them. You just need the balance. If you carry on telling them and showing them the way, they'll do it. Now, in terms of the du'as, okay, do they say the du'as loudly? A very simple way to get all your children to say all the du'as is get all of them to say them loudly at every single occasion. So at the dinner table, Bismillah wa barakatillah, at the, before they go to the toilet, you should hear a child outside the door saying, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal khaba'ith, or Bismillah, saying that, dua, and after they come back, saying it loud, ghufranak. When they get into your car, saying, Subhanallah, sakhrana hadha wa ma kunna, saying the whole dua loudly, as a whole family, you included as a parent. What's wrong with that? I've done that for years. And if you do it at the occasions, they will learn the du'as before they come to the point of the du'a in the actual, maktab itself. Because you've got it, you're saying it loudly. Okay? You come in the house. Bismillah, Allahumma inni as'aluka khayra al-mawriji wa khayra al-makhraji. Bismillah walajna wa bismillah kharajna wa ala Allahi rabbina tawakkalna. As they're entering the house, as they're taking the shoes off, you look at how they take the shoes off. And it's a very easy ta'aleem. You look at how they take the shoes off, but you've got to be someone who does that first. Do they take the left shoe off first and then the right shoe off? And when they put them on, do they put the right one on first and then the left one? There's reward in this. And if you do that, then they'll just do that naturally. Naturally, they'll do that. Okay, let's move on. So I'm talking about du'as. When I say du'as, I mean all the du'as. Now, another thing, I don't know what du'as are you using here? The du'as? The child's gift, okay. Now, in the child's gift, the book Child's Gift, there'll be a number of du'as that you'll see that will be for them when they get to a certain age and so on, or when they are able to practice certain things. So for example, the dua that you've got, let's say, Allahumma anta rabbi la ilaha illa anta khalaqtani wa ana abduka wa ana ala ahdika wa adika mastata'at. Okay? The whole dua of what we call the fifth kalima, some call that, Sayyidul Istighfar, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it, there's actually a specific reward for it. If you say it in the morning, if you say it in the evening, and you die that day or you die that night, you go straight to Jannah. If you've got that practice in your life, and when you take your children to school, on the way they have to say that dua loudly in the morning as they're going, no problem, they've got it in their practice. If you get them before they go to sleep, that they say their quls themselves, they still say Qul huwallahu ahad 3 times, Qul a'udhu falaq 3 times, Qul a'udhu bin-nas 3 times, Ayatul Kursi once or something, and they will blow into their hands and pass it over the body. You teach them that, they will do it, and that's the protection for the night. If you want them never to forget a surah that they've learned, then the easy way to do it is to tell the child, this is Dhuhr Salah, we're going to be praying, let's say for example, even if you pray 10 rakats. So even if you pray 4 sunnah, 4 fard and 2 sunnah after that, let's say that's your common practice. You say, okay, I'm going to pray the fard with the imam, fine, but when you do the sunnah on your own, the first 4 rakats, what surahs are you going to choose? Can you choose this surah, that surah? So for example, you say choose Idha Zulzila wal Adiyat, 2nd rakah, Al-Qari'ah, 3rd rakah, and Al-Hakim al-Takah, 4th rakah. If you make them do that, they will never forget the surahs again in their lives. So you give them an order of doing that for the sunnah salah that they do. As parents, it's on you to do that. When they have an argument, how is it that you are dealing with this argument at home? This is tarbiyah, and there's a massive part here that you play. Because the teachers here, of course, all teachers are going to say to them, don't swear, don't argue, don't, fight, and so on. I was just in a lesson just right now, and they were teaching them how to, deal with peer pressure. Okay, that's a lesson. It's going on. They've learned that. But the real world is with you. In your house, if I'm wrong, then tell me I'm wrong. Every week, your children will quarrel with each other. Every week. Every other day, they're going to quarrel. But then the good thing about it is they play very quickly after that every day. Am I right? Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Good. At least I'm not wrong. At least I'm not the only person. Right? The thing is, my wife said to me, why do they always, especially the boy and the girl in my house? There's a bit of a thing. And I said, look, in one way, it's, something that Allah Azza wa Jal, allowed to them to do. And she said, what do you mean? I said, look, Allah Azza wa Jal wants them to be independent. Each one is fighting for their independence. Each one wants to become the most prominent one. Each one wants to get your attention. Each one wants to get your attention. So they're doing things, and when they see the other one's getting closer to you, they're like, they want to do something, it really annoys them, okay? In every house, something or another is happening. How do you deal with it? The first thing is, your love should be equal between all of them. If your love is more for one than another, you've made big problems. We just was
upstairs and we're covering Yusuf alayhi salam story. You know, if you know that story, jealousy is the very thing that breaks the bond between the brothers. If your love for your family, let's say for example, this one's fighting for you and that one's fighting for you, you know, they'll do that, okay? And it was easy in the beginning, because when you had one child, it's easy. You just put the one child on your lap, right? When you got two children, what do? Well, it's easy still. You put one child on this thigh and the other child on this thigh. Sorted. What do you do when you got three? You put one child on this thigh, one child on that thigh, and then you pull your legs apart a little bit and put the other one in the middle. So you go three, you're hugging all three. What do you do when you go four? And they all want you, So you do the three like I said, and the fourth one you tend to come behind you and hug you from behind. Behind you, hug your neck. Alhamdulillah, show them love equally. They'll all fight for you, they'll all want your attention. But the thing is, when they fight with one another, how do you deal with it at home? Is it a slap? Is it shouting? Is it, snapping at them? Is it, straight away beating them? Or is it, you're going mad, you're going angry at them? Or is it that you don't even bother? You say, forget it. Just don't do it again. And I say, you haven't sorted it out. What's really important for these children is to understand that I've got a problem. Sometimes they get really emotionally worked up. My brother has picked on me. I have gone to my dad or my mother, and my mother never even listened to me. She was cooking or she was doing something else and she was like, okay, fine, I've heard it and go. But she never heard me. The first thing people want is they want to be able to express their feelings. Allow your child to express his feelings. Don't judge the child with the first story that you heard. That's another problem. The first one that came to you, with the tears, right? You're like, oh, who hit you? Who did this? You haven't even heard the other side of the story. You don't know. This one could bring you crocodile tears. This one could have been faking you out. This one probably knows how to cry. Some children, they know how to cry instantly, right? So the thing is, find out, listen to the story properly, listen to the other one, then judge between them fairly, and then get them to say sorry to each other. Alhamdulillah, sort it out. I want to say another thing to you. These are a few snippets that I'm giving you from different things. Technology. How much do you allow your children to play technology, and when? Because I'm going to tell you right now, you do not need to have technology on 7 days a week. You don't have to. You don't have to have it. You can actually have no technology from Monday to Friday, nothing at all. You can even say Monday to Friday and part of a whole weekend, nothing at all. They're not going to touch any technology. This means no pads, no game, no technological games, no PS4s, no Xboxes, no films, no watching anything at all. Right? In the time they don't engage in technology, they need other fillers. You need to fill it up with things. If you get your children in reading books, that's an excellent way of making them increase their knowledge. You can get your children to be really good in terms of playing other games. There are hundreds of games they can play with one another, which are games without technology, and you can bring those in your house and they can play those. You can bring arts and crafts, you can bring dots to dots, you can bring coloring, you can get them to just draw things. Okay, there's hundreds of things you can make your children do, and it'll build up their creativity. It will make them better for their life, and they will be able to express themselves better when it comes to other parts of life. Now, the moment you give them technology, you need to, as parents, control them. You control them. See, I've seen a lot of parents, sometimes they're with the child and their parents' phone, they give the phone to the child. And they've got certain games on the phone where the child will play. Let's say, for example, a child comes to the masjid. Sometimes I've seen this. Parents will have a young child in the masjid, straight away give the phone. When they're traveling by car, and they need the child to be quiet, or they're at a restaurant and they want the children to be quiet, they give the phone and they expect the child to play with the phone in the masjid, in the restaurant, in the car, and be quiet. You're damaging your child. Why? Because a child needs to learn how to face boredom. A child needs to face that. It's part of life. And if they face boredom and they complain to you, then you tell them this. You tell them, son, daughter, that's life. There will be certain points in your life you got to get bored, and you got to be able to fill your imagination, your head with boredom. And this is where sabr kicks in. If they can't sit in the masjid without a mobile phone, without games, they can't sit quietly in a restaurant, they can't sit quietly in a car without doing your head in or without having a phone, then there's something seriously wrong. Our ta'aleem, our way that we need these kids to grow up is they need to understand that this is something they will face. When you give them the few hours of technology, if you do that, I understand some families don't have any of it, that's fine, that's your prerogative. But if you give it in a measured way. And you give it with all the other things that you want to get done. Now, at the house, I'll tell you this, at the house, if your child gives you back chat, they normally start this at the age of 8, 9 or 10, sometimes 11, 12, definitely by 11, 12, they will challenge you with back chat. Back chat is you've told them something and straight away they talk back to you without you wanting them to talk back. So you say, Muhammad, why have you done that? I say, well, what's wrong with that? So Muhammad, now finish your plate, whatever else. But why do I have to finish it off? Oh, but look, finish it up because I'm told you to finish up. But she never finished up. And they're talking to you when you've just given them an order to carry something out. That back chat is something that's going to grow like a monster. If you want to stop it, you better stop it at its roots. There should be no back chat ever with parents, because I'm telling you right now, at 16 or even 14, 15, your head will explode with the amount of back chat that children will give if you allow a little bit to come into your house. There's no need for that. Now, you're going to tell me, well, how do you discipline children at home? Very simple, how to discipline children at home. I'll give you a very simple way, even with the Ofsted giving you all the tick boxes and everything. How do you discipline children? Very simple. Your child is not going to listen to you. You have time out. Time out is a very easy thing to do. Time out. What's time out? You say, okay, fine. You listen to me, and you ask it again. You listen to. If you don't listen to me a third time, or even if the first time, say, if you don't listen to me right now, you need to bring it down to the first time. If you don't listen to me right now, you're gonna have time out. And time out means I want to ask you to go out there, go to your bed, go to somewhere where you're just gonna sit there and you're gonna reflect. It's called muraqabah, for those of you who don't know. You sit there and you contemplate about what you've just done. 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. Sit there, let them have their reflection and then bring them back. You calm them down. It's a very good way. What did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? Say, A'udhu billahi min shaitan rajim. When you're angry, you know, if you're standing, sit down. If you're sitting down, lie down, right? These are all tactics. Anyway, time out. Next thing is, if they're still not listening to you, take away 15 minutes of their favorite thing. Whatever it is in the week that they love doing best, 15 minutes, say, I'm going to take that off. And if they do it, you take it off and you stick by the rule. Finish. You don't have to touch them. You don't have to hit them. You don't have to get angry at them. You don't have to, snap at them. These things, in a due measured way, it will work. Now, the other thing is, every single day, there needs to be a way that they feel Islam and the a'mal and the actions for Islam is part of their life. So what you do is, and I've said this before to those ustads here before, but I'm going to say to you as parents, your goal should never be that once my child has finished the Quran and that's it, I'm going to stop him from, or stop her from going to the Maktab. Your goal should be that the teachers here will teach them according to tajweed. Once the tajweed is complete, or they know how to read the Quran with tajweed, there should be 2 places in the Quran they read. One to the teacher, one at home. The one to the teacher is sabak, and they will carry on reading that to the teacher. The one at home is tilawa. And every day encourage your children to do 20 minutes or 30 minutes of tilawa. 20 to 30 minutes of tilawa. This carries on. When they finish one Quran, they start another Quran. They finish that Quran, they start another one. They will finish several Qurans before they finish the Maktab. And that should happen in every single house. When you've gone with your children somewhere, how do they act? Well, they're going to act and behave according to what you set in your house. Let me give you a few more things. Do your children finish what's on their plate completely? Do your children pick up that plate and take it to the sink or put it into the dishwasher? Do they do that? Do your children, and have you taught them how to actually wash a plate, wash a bowl? Have you taught them how to have breakfast on their own? Or what age am I talking about? I'm talking about 6, 7, 4, 5. Whatever age you can start early, you get that done. Do they know by the age of 10 how to actually fry eggs? Seriously, these are life skills they're going to learn. Why don't they know? When they're 10 years old, even when they're 9, do they iron their clothes? 9 or 10, you can teach them how to iron their own clothes. There's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with that. It actually helps your whole family. I'm not asking you to get them to iron all your clothes. Okay? If they want to do it out of their own love and out of the passion, alhamdulillah, let them do it. Do they know that? Do they do that? Have you made your children keep their room tidy in your house? Because that's another complaint a lot of you have. Why isn't it automatic? Because if you teach them to do it, they will do it. If you teach them and you make them do, tarbiyah is slowly over time they will do all these things. But you've got to just stay there and make sure it happens. Now, if your complaint is, I've reminded my child about salah so many times and they still need reminders, that's what tarbiyah is. You have to remind them again and again. And inshallah, one day, the day you will be the most happiest is that they will do their salah without you telling them to do the salah. The happiest you will be is one day you're standing behind your child and your child is praying the salah slowly. You're going to be very happy because you taught them that. They're doing it without you being there. This is now real change. When you have made your child start to hoover up, vacuum clean the different parts of the house, and one day they will automatically, without you saying it, they will do that in your house, alhamdulillah, tarbiyah is done. If you're a parent who's always kept the balance, what I'm talking about is a balance. You don't be too lenient and you don't be too harsh. If you get the balance wrong, your children will either hate you or they will swallow you up. You need to be in between, in the middle. You show love, but at the same time you show independence. You want them to love you, but at the same time you want them to be independent from you. Because those kind of children, inshallah, when they get married, they will know how to run their lives. When they're married and they're bored, they won't do each other's heads in. When they're married and they've got a wife, then it doesn't matter if the wife hasn't ironed his clothes, he will iron his own clothes. Because his mum taught him, his dad taught him how to iron clothes at a young age. When it's one day breakfast is not at the table and they're married, he will be able to, as a father, go and make the breakfast and have his own breakfast without having to have a grudge with his wife. That is when life becomes comfortable for all of these children in front of us. And of course, the girls need to learn all of this as well. And the girls will learn this and other things so that when they grow up and they become married individuals, they know how to be responsible with what they do. If in my house, when I'm really mad at my wife, because it will happen to you sometimes, and the wives, they'll be mad at their husbands sometimes. What do? Do you blurt things out in front of the children or do you wait? Do you ask your husband to kindly come with you to the other room? Does the husband ask the wife, can you step aside please upstairs? Can we shut the door? Can we have a few minutes and let's give the children something to do right here? Do you do that and then have whatever word you want with your wife or your husband? Or do you just start there and then? It's like, that's it. This is now the masjid and I'm the khatib. I want to give khutbah right now. What do? In front of the kids? You're going to say things about your spouse in front of the kids? You serious? You haven't got that much sense of dignity to say, 1 more minute, I want you to go in that room, I want the kids over in this other room, and I'm just going to have a private word with it, or I'm going to wait till tonight, or I'm going to wait for another hour or so. What's 1 more minute, 2 more minutes? If you're really desperate and there's no other room to go to, right? Then you walk away. Don't stand there. Don't argue in front of the children. Don't say horrible things in front of children. Because if you do that, you set the precedence for the kids. You will see the kids do exactly the same thing with one another later on. So first let's learn how to control ourselves. When we learn how to control ourselves, our children will automatically set themselves straight. I'm telling you, if they've never witnessed some of the things that they shouldn't witness, you know, the children as they grow up, that's how they behave. I've seen children, alhamdulillah, who all they want is, you know, all their lives what you did is whenever they were in trouble, you said, say sorry, and you said, say sorry. So this one says sorry to that one, and that one says sorry to this one. Later on, you know what? They grow up to be teenagers, and all they want from each other is just say sorry to me. When sorry is said, that's it, I'm happy. Alhamdulillah. That's an easy way of getting family, you know, feuds sorted out. Once sorry, done. Forgive, forget, move on. Right? That's how you set them. That's how you make them. Now, making the children responsible, giving them taqwa. I've got about 3 more minutes, okay? Giving them taqwa in their hearts that they carry forward. That the next time a matter of sin, a sinful thing comes in front of them and they themselves choose not to sin, subhanallah al-azim, your biggest tarbiyah is done. The whole reason why these teachers are here teaching them, the whole reason why we as parents put our children in the maktab is because we want our children to have their own taqwa. You cannot carry on making them cocooned in your own world. There was a king once, and he said this, he said to his advisor, he said, I want my shoes to be clean. No, sorry, he said, I want my feet to remain clean. He said, I want my feet to remain clean. So he told his advisor, wherever I'm going to walk, I want you to put a carpet there. So his advisor had to think, where is the king going to walk for the day? And he had to then carpet that place. So he carpeted this corridor, then he carpeted that corridor, carpet up to the bathroom here, then he carpet up to his bedroom there. Then the king would go outside and walk in his courtyard. The advisor had to go out and carpet, you know, parts of the palace outside. Then the king was going to go outside for another stroll on the roads. He had to carpet that as well. And then the advisor just turned to the king and said, Your Royal Highness, I've got a solution to this. If you want to keep your royal feet clean, instead of carpeting the whole of this town, it's easier if you just wear a pair of shoes. So the king thought, you know what, that's a good idea. Let's just wear a pair of shoes. The same thing, if you want your children, if you're thinking, oh my God, my kid's gonna, you know, in school he's gonna do this wrong. Oh my God, the kid's gonna see this. Oh my God, the kid's outside. Oh my God, I'm not gonna let him outside. I'm not gonna let him do this. I'm not gonna let him do that. I can't let him to go to his cousin's house. I can't let him go here because there's fitna here, there's this, there's that. You're like that king who wants to carpet the whole of the city. What you've got to understand is your kids one day have to leave the nest anyway. And the day they leave the nest, did you give them taqwa in their heart? Did you give them Allah's fear in their heart? And how do you give Allah's fear in their heart? A very simple way is you have Allah's fear in your heart, you will see Allah's fear in their hearts. Okay? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in a hadith of Ahmad, he said, "Iffu ta'iffa nisa'ukum." He said, if you as husbands remain chaste, your own wives will remain chaste. When you have a life of taqwa, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, your children will have a life of taqwa. As long as you look over them, as long as you do all the other things that I'm talking about, you remain balanced, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless all of you, bless your children as well, bless the teachers that are here. I've been very happy to come here and see, you know, the teaching going on. I will visit this again, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, in the future. Make dua for me also. In these few minutes, I've said a few words to you. I make dua for you as a musafir as well. May Allah Azza wa Jalla accept all our efforts. Jazakumullah khair wa akhi da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen.
Subhanallah.